Hey everybody, welcome to Star Flag Media. My name is Anthony. Today we've got some big news for Sony. We got huge news for Sony. We've got a brand new CEO taking over for the PlayStation division. The one that was currently there, or the one that was there as of today, his name was Herman, and he'd been as co-CEO with Jim Ryan previously. And we know Jim Ryan and him, they had a vision for PlayStation, and it was live service games, and they put hundreds of millions of dollars, literally hundreds of millions of dollars, and they put their best studios to work on these live service games, to the point where we had 12 live service games in the works, literally hundreds of millions of dollars spent on these projects internal. And then Jim Ryan got a look at Concord and what they were working on over there, and he bought the studio outright, and then it flopped. We all know what happened with Concord. Well, Jim Ryan left Sony, and Herman took over. Well, it looks like there's a shakeup over at Sony, as the new president of Sony PlayStations is now Hiroki Totoki. Mr. Hiroki Totoki is the new CEO of PlayStation. Now, why is this important? You would think that it's just going to be business as usual, right? Well, no. Mr. Totoki has a vision, and his vision is a lot like Microsoft's vision. Oh man, this is not good news for you PlayStation fans and you Sony ponies. And why do I say this? Well, let's go through some you know pull up your nice big cups of copium, because this is what we're going to be doing for you today. And Totoki is looking to improve first party outings with, you guessed it, multi-platform. Multi-platform is the future for Sony. Their main purpose, and this is his words, was to make software that made their hardware more popular. A reason for you to go drop this money on, a PlayStation. So you make a first party game, it, then will make people buy your hardware, and you get them locked into your circle. Something that Nintendo popularized back in the 1980s, and Atari to a smaller degree. But now he says first party can be grown with multi-platform. And I'm going to quote him right here so that you guys can then tell me how the new CEO of Sony PlayStation is not telling you exactly what he's going to do. And we can go through some of your copium in a second. But the direct quote, and it comes from Genki Japan, and it says, Sony President Hiroki Totoki says he wants to go aggressive in improving margins by growing first party with multi-platform. And the quote goes, in the past, we wanted to popularize consoles and the first party titles. Main purpose was to make the consoles popular. It is true, but there is a synergy to it. So if you have strong first party content, not only with our console, but also other platforms like computers, first party can be grown with multi-platform and can help operating profits to improve. So that is another one we want to proactively work on. I personally think there are opportunities out there for improvement of margins. So I would like to go aggressive in improving our margins performance. Now, I'm going to give you guys your first little sip of copium, and by saying, oh, he said like computers, which of course that's what he said. He said like computers. He didn't say only computers, like computers as an example. This is exactly how Microsoft started 5 to 10 years ago. They started porting the games over to PC, and nobody blinked an eye. Everybody was like, no, this doesn't really count. PCs don't count. They're just moving over there. They're not direct competitors. It's no big deal. Well, Sony then is also now doing exactly that, putting all their games on PlayStation, and they're making their way over to PC. And that's it, right? Well, not really, because we know that Sony also publishes MLB The Show on multi-platforms, right? And that's on everything. But you're going to get a little bit of an out on that because this is more of MLB telling them you have to do that, right? With that said, Sony then comes along last year and we have the Lego Horizon game on Nintendo. Well, that's a Sony first party IP. Nobody forced Sony to do that. Let me guess what your copium on that is. Oh, it doesn't count because it's not a mainline Horizon game. But that's how it starts. As Microsoft started publishing little things like Minecraft on other platforms, and it was like, oh well, it's not a mainline game. This is acceptable. These little smaller indie titles to make their way over to supplement Microsoft's income. Well, yeah, that's how it starts, and then they start seeing the money roll in. And then you start getting them getting bigger ideas. And this new president of Sony, his idea isn't just to be small time. He wants to improve their margins for their shareholders. And what bigger way to do that than to start letting your games come out not just on PC, but yes, even Nintendo Switch. And the Switch 2 is coming along shortly. So we'll be seeing a flood of Sony published older titles as the beginning of Sony's push for multi-platform? I think so. I believe that this is exactly what's going to happen. And why? Not because I said so, but because Mr. Hiroki Totoki said so himself. He says it. First party titles will be going multi-platform. And that's the words he used, are multi-platform. So you can say, oh, well, it's not the same. It's just not going to be the same. But you sound exactly like an Xbox. To further go on to this and why Sony might be taking a serious look at this, in December of 2024, Xbox actually had more money brought in dollars than Sony did on the PlayStation. Listen to that again. Microsoft games like Call of Duty and other Microsoft published games brought in 74% of all software revenue on PlayStation. That's right, I'll repeat, Microsoft games like Call of Duty in 74% of all software revenue on PlayStation. But if you think that Sony isn't looking at that and going, we need a piece of that pie, you're crazy. Remember, Microsoft did only 1 or 2 games at the beginning, and then they adopted the PC, and everyone was like, nah, it's just the PC. And that's where Sony is now. 1 or 2 games and PC. And this new CEO saying that their first-party IPs will now need to be multi-platform, especially after spending hundreds of millions of dollars. But go on, Sony ponies. Tell me how I'm wrong. Just like the Xbox told me I was wrong. And then the ads came out. And then more statements came out. And then the CEOs themselves were saying it. So now that we have a CEO saying it, tell me I'm wrong. But don't take it from me. Take it from CEO Hiroki Totoki. Tell the CEO of Sony PlayStation that he is wrong and that those games will not be multi-platform. Tell him he's wrong. Tell him that he doesn't get to dictate where those games, and that his shareholders aren't like, yes, let's do that. Let's bring those games over to the Switch 2 that's about to launch and make us a shit ton of money. Tell Mr. Otoki that he's wrong, just like the Xbox are telling Phil Spencer now that he's wrong. Well, that's all I've got for you guys today. As always, it is important that you guys interact with the video. Hit that like, that share, that subscribe if you can. If you don't like the video, that's fine. Hit the dislike button. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. Is Mr. Totoki going to go ahead with what he said? He's the guy in charge now. The old ship has sailed. We've got new management on board. The adults have entered the chat. Is Sony going to go full on multi-platform, or is it still going to be another 5 to 10 years before they develop their own Game Pass, and then we start seeing them copy more and more what Microsoft has been doing? I want to thank you guys for joining us here on Star Flag Media, and we will catch you guys next time.